Welcome to Progress in San Diego, Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. I'm your host, Walter Davis, and once again we have the honor to have Miss Eileen Lasher from the California Coalition for Families and Children. Welcome to the show again, Eileen.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Walter. Thanks for having me.
So you've got some updates to give us. You've got to rehash some things that we've talked about, so I'm just going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. Well, the last time I was here, we spoke a little bit about an investigation involving an attorney in San Diego Family Court, Teresa Erickson, and she had been running a 6-year international baby selling ring in San Diego Family Court under the supervision of Judge Lorna Alksney. And it was not anyone in San Diego that detected this baby selling ring. It was an attorney in Los Angeles who was simply looking at the trend of probate cases and the large increase in probate cases. So this attorney contacted the San Diego FBI, which prompted an investigation, and it was discovered that attorney Teresa Erickson was falsifying court documents in order to conduct this illegal baby selling ring, and also the taxpayers were paying for the births of these babies through Medi-Cal, but she has been prosecuted and she's currently in jail, so that's good news. But it is my hope that an investigation will be conducted on family law cases within the same venue that are red flagged as high conflict, because there's definitely a trend and a pattern of litigants being held hostage for extended periods of time, and they're paying excessive attorney fees, and none of their issues are being resolved. Initially, I thought I was the only one, but now I've learned that there are hundreds of cases just like mine, held hostage for 10, 15, 20 years, and basically we are commodities for the attorneys and the personnel in family court services simply to provide revenue.
Now, let's go back 1 second. Who was buying the babies? Who were the babies being sold to?
It was people who desperately wanted to adopt a child. Mm-hmm. And so basically crime, it usually flourishes when victims are found. So the victims in this particular baby selling ring case were people that wanted to adopt a child. And this Teresa Erickson was an expert in adoption. Mm-hmm. So basically there's a process where she was saying that there were originally adoptive parents, but they backed out. And she would contact a couple that wanted to adopt a child, and this would cost about $100,000 per baby. Mm-hmm. But she was falsifying court records and backdating so she could make money.
So these children were being taken away from their parents and then sold?
No. What happened, there would be a surrogate mom, a person who wanted to make money to carry a baby. Mm-hmm. So it's my understanding that this Teresa Erickson would fly a potential surrogate to the Ukraine. She would be impregnated with sperm, and then she would be carrying a baby. Then she would come back to San Diego, give birth, and Medi-Cal would pay for it. And then the parents, who had no idea that this was going on, they're just simply wanting to adopt a child. Mm-hmm. And apparently adoption for couples that cannot conceive a child on their own, it's a difficult process, and they do need the assistance of an attorney to kind of go through that process. So Teresa Erickson saw a way to make money, a way to prey on unsuspecting victims, and she eventually got caught.
I see. I don't really understand the connection between the court. How was she able to use the court to accomplish this?
You have to file records for a person to legally adopt a child. Mm-hmm. And apparently you have to have the adoptive parents in place, but there already has to be a baby. that needs a home. And
I see.
apparently the loophole was she would not really have the baby yet, but she would have the adoptive parents and say, we have a baby. So then they would give her the money, and she would falsify the documents as if there were previous parents who had backed out of the adoption. Now she has new people that are looking to adopt a child.
I see. Got
And
it.
she was very well known throughout the entire country in the United States as the adoptive attorney
Okay.
in the U.S. And she was, on the internet advertising her services. She was apparently a very well-known attorney in the probate court circle, which is under the same umbrella as the family court.
So this is a small victory for the people of San Diego in terms of the corruption being exposed that is widespread within the family court system.
It is a victory, but the concern that I see is you have the district attorney's office who is responsible to detect fraud, and then you have our San Diego U.S. attorneys. So in this particular case, it was an attorney in Los Angeles who was simply looking at the trends, the patterns, similar to a fraud investigator at a bank. They're trained to look for patterns. Now, the pattern that's happening in San Diego Family Court is people are litigating, they're paying large sums of money, they're paying their fees, they're paying their attorney fees, and their issues are not being resolved. So there's a large group of litigants that are in the system for 10 to 15 years, and this pattern should be something that the San Diego District Attorney's Office should be looking at, and someone in the U.S. Attorney's Office should be looking at.
So let's go back and rehash some of this. What I'm hearing, what I've heard you say, is that people of a certain income group are targeted by the family court system. So you got to make enough money. So poor people, people with not a lot of assets, don't normally get targeted.
They get targeted, but in a different way.
Okay.
We can discuss that on this show, or we can discuss that on a different show. But they are being targeted as well. But they're being targeted and used as commodities in a program that accommodates low-income people. So that's another area where there is corruption. And somebody actually just called me because I was on your show, and he's a low-income, and he actually has uncovered another layer of corruption, which is below the corruption that I'm talking about.
So the bottom line is that there are different types of corruption, and what we have been talking about is the fact that there are only a certain number of evaluators that are allowed to do evaluations of parents to see if they're fit to be parents, and these people are losing the college funds, they're losing their wealth.
Correct.
As a result of having to pay these exorbitant fees for evaluators who don't have proper credentials.
Correct. And the first time I was on your show, I was on here with Dr. Tadros, who was a family law litigant, and he's also a psychiatrist. So he actually was sent to this evaluator, Dr. Doyne, for an evaluation because he obviously makes enough money. And he uncovered that this Dr. Doyne, who trains the 11 other evaluators in San Diego court, he had lied about his credentials. And I'm sure that the public is aware that most recently the CEO of Yahoo had been discovered for lying on his resume, indicating that he had received a diploma in computer science. And the board members of Yahoo have been told that he lied. So immediately he has been relieved of his position as CEO. The alarm that we have here in San Diego is Dr. Tadros brought to the attention of the San Diego Family Court administrators, Bonnie Dumanis of the district attorney. He actually filed a civil suit in court that this Dr. Doyne, who's charging San Diego family law litigants $30,000 to meet with him, and on his resume he indicated that he was an adjunct professor at USD, he taught at UCSD, and Dr. Tadros looked into his credentials And those schools both wrote back and said, we've never heard of this man. So this man is actually the vehicle that the attorneys are using to churn the cases, create conflict, and attach the children to the litigation, because basically San Diego Family Court is simply a court of equity. You get married, you're split everything 50-50, but then the attorneys wouldn't really be making a lot of money. So they came up with this it's a con game, that they're placing litigants in high-risk situations, kind of like a high-pressure sale. Like, you have to go and see this doctor. This is what you have to do. But the litigants, they don't even realize that this is a con game. They do not have to submit to a psychological. They're working-class parents. They haven't been arrested. There's no question as to their psychological condition. They're simply going in for a divorce. But once the litigant is skip-traced and the attorneys see, oh, they have a house, oh, they have savings, because there's a computer program that does all that. They know how many cars you own. They know all about your family, where you come from, and then they can say to the attorney on the other side, oh, this is going to be a big case for us. If we keep this litigation going, if we attach a psychological evaluator, we attach a minors counsel and a special master, this could reap us, at minimum, $500,000 in fees. We'll keep this thing going. The kids are 3 and 4. We've got until these kids turn 18. We can really churn this case, earn commissions. We can buy the boat. We can send our own kids to college. Once these litigants' children turn 18, we'll have to cut them loose because the game will be over. So, for some reason, in San Diego Family Court, the laws of the outside world are not applying, because you have people lying about their credentials, but the personnel that are running the family court, they're there to serve the attorneys. They're not there for the best interest of the children. It has nothing to do with that. They want to seize your assets, and they're going to do it. You're never going to get due process. You will never get to examine the debt you so-called owe to the attorneys, because your court documents will be falsified. The attorneys will go to the bank with the judgment, and they'll take your money.
So the bottom line is that there is a lot of corruption occurring. Now, to be fair, after our television shows and we put them up on the internet, there are people calling me from all over the world with similar problems. We have people calling from England, people are calling from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Arkansas. So this problem or similar problems exist in family courts throughout the Western world.
Yes, absolutely. And you're the only media that will cover it.
ABC did cover it, right? Channel 10.
Well, what they have covered is the forensic end of it. The Dr. Doyne that bought his credentials from a diploma mill in Missouri for $450. So he's got his diploma that he bought from this diploma mill, which Dr. Tadros has brought to the court's attention. And apparently this ongoing scam is not only exclusive to family court, it's all sorts of forensics that testify in murder cases, criminal court cases. But here we have unsuspecting families in San Diego that are being used as commodities by these forensics who've bought a diploma for $450, and the judge takes their testimony as gospel. And
so you're saying to me that families here in San Diego County are having people testify against them on the pretense that they have credentials.
Correct.
And these credentials are falsified.
Correct. But the only agenda is so that these attorneys and these forensic who have false credentials is to make money. And I had no idea. I'm thinking I'm going into court, I'm paying my fee, I'm going to get due process, I'll be divorced in 6 months.
And you've been in court how long?
17 years. And we still have not addressed the community property. So what's happening is San Diego Family Court has become a highly unregulated boiler room.
And there are many other families, because I witnessed
Yeah.
Border Patrol officers, real estate agents, business people,
Right.
all in that room in the California Coalition for Families and
Right.
Children, saying the same thing.
Saying
Chiropractors.
the same thing, yes. But the problem is the San Diego Family Court personnel, there's a disparity in this. They are not as sophisticated as these attorneys who have these websites. They're paying technical people to put them up on the search engine. So when you search for an attorney, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get this guy is saying on his website, I'm going to resolve your issues efficiently. And of course, the litigant has no idea that if they own a home, if they have a job, if they have savings, they don't want to resolve your issues, because then they're not going to make any money. And unfortunately, the family court is allowing this racketeering to go on. And it's criminal activity. If you go in to invest in stocks or bonds, the broker will have to discuss with you, Walter, that, Walter, I need to let you know that this is risky. If you lose this money, I need to know that your family is not going to be out on the street. You're not going to lose your home. You're not going to lose your car. And, your kids are going to be okay. And I need to explain to you that investing in stocks and bonds or whatever is risky. For whatever reason, these laws are not being complied with in family court, and the attorneys are deliberately placing their litigants in risky situations, and they don't have risk capital. The savings that they have is to send their children to school, is for a rainy day when their car breaks down. This is not risk capital. This is so damaging to these litigants that they are losing their homes to their attorneys.
Yes.
The bills are getting to be so high, $50,000, so then the attorney gets to place a lien on their own client's home. So there was no explanation that you do not need to understand that if you go into family court, you are in imminent danger. Your issue will not be resolved within 6 months. We are going to churn your issue for 10 to 15 years. You will lose your home because I want your home. That's essentially what's happening. Okay. And I wish I could say that it's something different, but children are not receiving their child support. The family court has become an entity to service these attorneys, these forensics, and for whatever reason, Bonnie Dumanis of the San Diego District Attorney's Office is allowing this to go on. Damon Moser of the San Diego District Attorney's Office, who's in charge of the fraud, either he's being told he can't look into it. I don't know if they're getting a cut, similar to like Bernie Madoff. The clearing firms were putting those trades through. They were getting a percentage of every trade. So it could be so seductive to the agencies in San Diego that are supposed to protect litigants from this type of fraud, that they want to keep their job. They need to have their money coming in. They want to send their kids to school, that San Diego family law litigants are being used as commodities. Their children are being used as commodities.
Right.
Their trust is being violated. The San Diego taxpayers have no idea that their money is being grossly abused.
Yes. Now, I would find this very hard to believe had I not been in the room with you, with retired Border Patrol officers and all these people that are part of the California Coalition for Families and Children saying this. We're down within our last 10 minutes, believe it or not, now. So I want to make sure that you are able to talk about what's happening now. What's happening now at the federal court and Supreme Court level in the state now?
Well, Dr. Tadros was a family law litigant, and there was no conflict in his case, but then, he was forced to go to this Dr. Doyne, and he realized that this guy is a scam, and he brought it to the court's attention with all sincerity that, he being a psychiatrist, he is the head of Scripps Health Department, and he's actually been appointed to some national position. he went to the court with good faith saying, you need to stop this man. You need to stop what's happening. They're hurting children. And basically, the San Diego Family Court didn't respond. So Dr. Tadros, to protect the public, filed a civil suit against Dr. Doyne. And the judge thought it was no problem that he lied about his credentials and ordered Dr. Tadros to pay for Dr. Doyne's attorney $86,000. But Dr. Tadros is now taking his case is being reviewed in the federal system right now. So he is a great man that feels compelled to let the public know that this is ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
This is damaging families in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here because, if nothing else, I want to warn the public. I've asked Damon Mosler of the San Diego District Attorney's Office to conduct an audit, just a simple audit to see how much money these attorneys are making on each case, because that alone should raise an eyebrow. I've asked Jason Forge of the U.S. Attorney's Office to investigate. He's the U.S. Attorney that was prosecuting Teresa Erickson. I let him know he needs to expand his investigation because in San Diego Family Court, there is racketeering going on. And Michael Roddy, the CEO of our San Diego Family Courts, is not accurately reporting the high numbers of high conflict cases that are being churned for excessive fees, extended periods of time, and the court filings are being falsified.
And so San Diego taxpayers are being affected because they're paying some of these fees.
Correct. I mean, the court is a publicly funded entity, and I do not believe that the public, I mean, you have people that are losing their jobs. The economy is so bad. So you're a family law litigant. You cannot recover from this. And I do not believe that the public really knows what's going on.
Now, I heard witnesses within the coalition state how they had lost their homes in Rancho Santa Fe and other areas, and lost their practices, and some of these people
couldn't
were
go
doctors.
to work. All they were doing was litigating.
Are waiting tables now.
Correct. Yes. And the strange thing is, a lot of times when the children are taken away from the one parent, they're told that the other parent doesn't want them. They're not able to really, their wishes are not being expressed by their court-appointed minors counsel, who's being paid for by your tax dollars, Walter.
Now,
so what they're doing is they're billing the county for services never rendered. They're not doing their job because they're not expressing the wishes of the children, like, I want to spend half time with mom, half time with dad, because the agenda is keep this case litigating, keep the conflict going, because then the money keeps going in.
So we have evaluators that are referring families to mediators and then assigning themselves as the mediator.
Yes, and also we've discovered that the court-appointed psychologists like Dr. Doyne, Dr. Barrett, they actually are in other businesses with these attorneys. They have real estate ventures together. This is completely illegal. This is a racketeering, organized crime ring that are preying. This is not just people that want to adopt a child. The people that are being preyed on is people that just want to go in and get a divorce. And they watch a film and they're told in FCS they're going to be divorced in 6 months. So there's a huge disparity in what you're told when you go in and then what's happened, because the sophisticated attorneys, they're running a con game like the slip and fall in the 80s in the supermarket. The con game is, red flag a case as high conflict, and that case is going to get you $400,000 easy in litigation. That's what's going on. It has nothing to do with the best interest of the children. All it is an illegal seizure of your assets. That is what's going on. And there is illegal bookkeeping going on because They go back retroactive on a lot of the orders, and so it's essentially also a lot of money laundering going on because they're not even claiming how much money they're really making. So the attorneys, the evaluators, they're not even paying taxes on the money that they're making in this boiler room that is called San Diego
And Social
Family
Security
Court.
somehow is tied into this as well, is it not?
Oh, well, with the probate court, there's a lot of different layers. And if you notice, the San Diego family law attorneys are also probate attorneys. They're minors counsels. So they have this little...
Shell game?
It is a shell game, but they also know the logistics of each court, probate, family, that they have like a juvenile court. They know the mechanics. They get to know the clerks that work there, and they'll give them the piece of paper, just rubber stamp
We're at
this.
2 minutes. Tell us how Social Security is related real quick.
The Social Security, I believe, would be tied into the probate court somehow. So and Teresa Erickson, in the latest article in the San Diego Union Tribune, indicated she is the tip of the iceberg. She said it is riddled. Probate court is loaded with corruption.
But we're at 2 minutes now, so I need you to give your message in 20 seconds.
At the very least, when you go into family court, similar to investing in stocks and bonds, everyone should be required to fully explain to the family law litigants that they are in imminent danger, they will be deliberately placed in high-risk situations, and they will lose their assets. And they don't have risk capital. This is a regular middle-class, working-class person.
Okay, we're out of time now.
Okay.
But we'll have links on the Coalition website regarding details. We have the other interviews that we've conducted over the past year or so, documenting this entire process. I invite you to look at our videos and previous interviews that we have to get up to speed with this, and be advised that the San Diego case has now got worldwide attention in terms of the amount of corruption. People all over the world are watching what's happening in San Diego. I want to thank you very much for joining us on Progress in San Diego. My name is Walter Davis, and come back and see us again. And thank you for joining us.